How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to TableTakes. It's the best 4 days in gaming all year long. That's right. I am joined with my favorite people, Bonsai Baby, Noir Enigma, and Peter Atkinson. We're back to give you some more board game news. But first, I'm just going to check in with all of y'all, see how you're doing. And let's start with Bonsai. Bonsai, how you been this week?
Doing great. We got my partner and I got to get the first beta look at the new game we're dropping in. We thought it was March, but it's going to be in February. I'm making a meeple. So
Nice.
So I'm making a self-made meeple.
All right.
It takes about another 8 months to develop, but
Flesh meeple.
It's a flesh meeple. It's a nice flesh meeple. Did you just get the joke now? Noir, apologize.
I thought I was muted.
Oh. No, it's a beautiful miracle. It's a whole meeple coming out of bonsai. Congratulations.
It's a whole meeple. Thank you. But it's essentially a jelly bean. That's what it literally looks like. Take a jelly bean. This is what's making me puke so much. It's this thing right there. So that's my news. It's gross biological things that are happening, and I have really nothing else to talk about because it takes a lot of work to make a flesh-made meeple. Lots of work.
Are you gonna be worried if it comes out orange?
I would be very worried if it came out orange.
I mean, I feel like it would make sense.
It should be like a light brown.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, Noir, how about you? Are you also having a
I want to know what you thought the answer was going to be like. I was going to look like that baby gets branding. That's what. And low key, I was so offended. Bonsai didn't tell me about the game that she was developing. I was like, I thought we talked. I thought we were friends. Oh, how am I doing? I'm good. Not the fastest today. I haven't had my coffee. Very excited for Gen Con. I've got a live show. Morning Ritual's going to be there. It's going to be fun. Very happy to be here with all of you.
Ooh. Yeah, it's coming up so soon. Oh my gosh. What, like less than 2 weeks? 2 weeks? Almost?
Oh, it's final countdown.
Speaking of Gen Con, Peter. Peter, how you been? What you been up to?
Oh, let's see. What have I been up to? Yeah, like many of you and many of my friends, getting ready for Gen Con, of course, next year. Although I've got such a great team, I don't have to do that much to get ready for Gen Con. Just remember to pack, all the stuff that I want to take so I can play the games I want to play and that sort of thing. And in fact, this weekend, I'm like going to 2 concerts this weekend. So I think that's kind of fun.
Ooh, that's exciting. Who are you seeing?
Oh, let's see. Well, hopefully my neighbors, it's a surprise for them. So hopefully they're not watching. But we're going to see Michael Franti tonight, who I love. And then tomorrow night, old school, we're going to go see Blue Oyster Cult with Stefan Corny and
oh, yay.
Yeah.
Love Stefan.
Yeah.
Tell him I said hi.
I will tell him that.
So I've been pretty good this week. I've been kind of keeping busy with, learning new board games, teaching new board games like I usually do. Went to a meetup where I got to play the new Dice Throne Marvel edition. I got to play Miles Morales Spider-Man versus Black Widow, and I lost. It was close, though. It was really close. It was really fun. I like seeing that new version of Dice Throne. And I'm also very excited for at the end of the stream today, the next episode of TableTakes Game Night is going to be featuring a game called Someone Has Died.
Dun, dun, dun.
So stick around for that if you want to find out who died and who's going to get their bequeathment. But
wait,
that's what's coming after the episode. But we got a whole bunch of tabletop gaming news, right, from the hottest news outlets on the internet. Speaking of hot news, Peter's got some hot news, flaming hot news to share with us. Go for it.
Yeah. So Macmillan Publishers has released Slaying the Dragon, which is Ben Riggs's biography, if you will, of sort of the final chapters of TSR, and I'm not talking about the new TSR. We don't talk about them. The traditional, the old TSR, and so this book is all about it. And I would say a lot more about it, but Ben Riggs is going to be on this show later. So so stick around to the end of the episode, and we'll hear about the book directly from him. And I have to admit, I skipped right to the chapter on me. So I'm reading it. When I get done reading about me, I'll go back and read the rest. Just do some fact checking.
Oh, no spoilers.
No spoilers. Yeah, but it looks like a great read. Ben's got a natural way about describing things. He's got a nice sort of narrative. I don't know. He just sets up his use of languages. Really makes it really fun read. So I highly recommend it.
Absolutely. I'm very much looking forward to that interview as well. I have so many exciting questions. But here's a question for Noir. What's our next headline?
I don't know.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Well, I can remind you. I've got the agenda right here.
Steve Jackson Games and Paizo team up for Pathfinder Revolutions. This story being brought to us by ICV2, Jeffrey Don Sanchez. So Paizo's going to be releasing, along with Steve Jackson, a new edition of the Revolution board game, which is currently on Kickstarter for pre-order. This is a new Pathfinder branded version of Revolution, which was released back in 2009. It spawned a couple of other expansions like Revolution Anarchy. The new edition improves the classic political deduction game as well as adds elements from the expansion material. And it's going to be set in the world of the Pathfinder RPG, with the goal of the game being to bluff or outguess your opponents while branding a coalition to gain control of the city of Corvosa. So this is a little bit more of your intrigue and your bluffing and lying. If you like the political aspects of the early seasons of Game of Thrones, then this might be the kind of game that you want to check out. I haven't personally had a chance to play Revolution, but this sounds like a whole bunch of fun, and I am down for anything Pathfinder right now. So I definitely want to check this out. But how about the rest of you? Have you had a chance to play Revolution yet?
No,
I've
I'll be
not.
honest, I have not.
But it looks good. I'd love to try it.
Heck yeah, it might be something that might need to hit our table.
Maybe.
Oh,
It's
if only I had an opportunity to play this game, because I haven't. It would be a nice way to compare.
Well, from what I've seen from like a lot of the Pathfinder lore and stuff like that, taking over a city, definitely within the realm of Pathfinder stuff. They have a huge amount of content to choose from for lots and lots of IPs that they want to make, and they have been expanding. If they're trying to catch up with D&D, I think they're doing a good job. They're getting close.
Absolutely.
But speaking of which, we actually have some more Pathfinder news. It doesn't stop there.
That's right. Y'all thought I was finished, but I'm not. Paizo is also going to be releasing Pathfinder Treasure Vault, a new RPG rulebook, which is going to hit retail stores February 2023. In this new rulebook, the kobold assistant to a ferocious dragon reveals his master's glittering hoard to RPG enthusiasts. The 224-page hardcover rulebook features nearly 600 items, including shields, armors, magic items, and much more. There are about 50 new weapons included in this book, as well as an entire chapter dedicated to over 100 alchemical items. This rulebook also provides new information on new variant and expanded crafting rules. So if you want to take the safer route of not going get that dragon's hoard and making the items yourself, there is a robust rule set in Pathfinder to do just that.
What a creative way to introduce a new RPG book. A kobold just accidentally, just let it out. Now you get all of this new content.
Kobolds over here leaking PDFs. See, that's why you gotta leave a watermark on your hoard, or else it'll just end up in a book written by a kobold.
You know what the best kind of treasure is, Noir?
The friends we made along the way?
Buried treasure. Buried treasure. Probably buried in the sand.
Spicy treasure.
Spicy treasure. Yeah. Peter, tell us more.
Yeah. So if you like the idea of spicy buried treasure and you're not sick of Dune games already, if you've got the bandwidth for one more Dune game, well, Simon has the answer for this. Simon has announced a license for Dune franchise. It will be coming out they'll be launching a crowdfunder later this year to create a new Dune board game. So do we really need another Dune board game? But let me tell you a little bit about this one, and maybe you'll say yes. I have to admit, I'm intrigued. So the traditional way to play Dune is multiplayer, 6 players or so, like the old Avalon Hill game where everybody's trying to vie for control of Arrakis, and it's 6 players, and you're all compete. Alliances could shift. You could end up with anything. You could have the Bene Gesserits allied with the Harkonnens, or the Fremen allied with the Space Guild, whatever. In this game, it is going to be a 2-player game. So I think that what they're really going to do is focus on the war itself. They're going to, the designers are the same guys that did the War of the Ring game that was very successful back in 2011, that uses action dice and event cards. And it sounds like they're going to take a similar attack. There wasn't a lot of specifics online about exactly how the game will play. I imagine they're still early in the design, but that seems like an interesting take. So it looks like it's going to be set in the era right after the Harkonnens come back after selling Arakeen to the Atreides. They come back and do a surprise attack. And so I think the game will focus on the Fremen and and Paul and Jessica. It mentions that they'll be characters with the Fremen, probably fighting against the Sardaukar and the Space Guild. Who knows? But that seems like a more military style game. Would be a fresh look at the Dune military situation. And I'm going to get it. Looks good.
Yeah. I think War for the Ring, War of the Ring. The co-creators were the ones who are helping make this game like real.
Yes.
And I haven't played it myself, but I've seen it on the table, so I think that's good news if you like big, huge table presence board games. Because I heard 2-player game, and usually I think of like smaller scale kind of thing. But of course, with Dune, I mean, you want big scale.
I just want to be able to ride the worms, Javion.
Absolutely.
All I want is that spice, Malone.
You want the spice, yeah.
There are probably plenty of deals and negotiations to be made in a game like this, but hey, that brings me to an exciting game announcement that I have for all of you today. The Czech Games Edition announced Deal with the Devil. It is a new Euro-style fantasy game revolving around the concept of making a deal with the devil, selling your soul in order to gain material or resources for your kingdom. In this game that's going to be released, set to be released at Eschenspiel in this year, actually, you're going to be competing to construct buildings in a medieval city. And in order to do that, you have to make deals to get resources, deals with other players at the table. So it's a lot of interactivity between people. The box looks kind of big, so there's probably going to be tons of components. We're looking at like a main resource board, building cards, event cards, inquisitor cards, reputation board, so much stuff. And it's all in service of this idea that one player is a hidden identity. They are going to be the actual devil playing in the game, trying to broker a deal with everybody else at the table, secretly trying to get your soul. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to be kept a secret, but I'm certain I want to try to find out. And then, of course, there's one person, a cultist, who is supposed to be like serving the devil. So everybody is constantly vying, trying to figure out who is who. What's really interesting about this game is that it's only 4 players. So you have to have the exact right number of players to play it. But I think that's going to help them like sort of focus the mechanics down and really get some good quality out of it. I'm really excited to learn more about this, but I got to jump right into the next board game announcement. It is a new Icebreaker party game coming from Hatchet Board Games. This one's called Oh Really? I thought I knew you better than that. This party game is all about trying to guess your friend's order of preferences among 5 topics. So you're trying to guess what your friends are interested in a ranking, sort of like from the top 5, the best of 5. It features 200 different topics to play with. It's got a really easy to learn rule set, and it's great as an icebreaker for dinner parties and other social gatherings. So seems like it's going to be really fun. It's only going to retail for $20, and it plays 2 to 4 players. So if you like party games like me, I'd keep an eye out for it and see if you can snatch up a copy when it releases in August 31st this year.
I think we should play it on TableTakes. Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh.
So much fun. We would learn so much about each other.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
I mean, I could ask Noir all of his favorite board games, his favorite actors. I bet I could already name a few off the top of my head.
Chris Pine.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh.
Very good one. Very good one. Wait, hold on. We have some D&D news about Chris Pine, but that's coming later. First, we have a very exciting announcement about an award show or award series that you probably have heard of. Bonsai, tell us more.
Hello, everybody. Yes. This is a record playing. I realize that I've been for the past few weeks been like, hey, did you know about Spiel des Jahres and Kinderspiel? Well, finally, that arc has come to its conclusion. They have announced the winners this year for the Spiel des Jahres. Sorry, I do not speak this language very well, so if I'm mispronouncing it, just go ahead and complain about it in the comments or in chat really quick. Give me the correction. But yes, Cascadia was announced as the winner of the Spiel des Jahres Game of the Year award. I know Javion is very psyched that they won. Beating out the 2 other games, Scout and Top 10. Both games, I believe, Javion, you're like, how do I choose which is my favorite child? As well. And the other one, Kinderspiel des Jahres, which is the enthusiast game of the year category, was Living Forest. So if folks in the US don't know, they're like, what the heck is Living in the Forest? It's okay, don't worry about it. It's a French game. Speak of which, these award ceremonies are European based. It has not been translated, and the ones that have been translated are not in wide release, so we can just hopefully look forward to next year. We can get our hands on it for those who are English-based speakers, but it did beat out Cryptid and Dune Imperium. When Doom Imperium, of course, who can hear enough about the spice? That's all I have for these. I don't know if anybody else. I mean, like, hey, if Living in the Forest needs somebody to like play their game for a wider audience, I don't know. There might be a company that could do that.
Just send a couple of copies our way,
Send a couple.
I want to know what you guys think about the picks for the Kinderspiel and the Spiel des Jahres. Do you think that this was the right decision? What do you think about the nominees?
I think Cascadia is a beautiful game, and especially it's not really like a very big surprise for me. The only one is, of course, Living Forest, because I don't know the game. Give me the game. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a great choice. Solid.
Were you hoping Dune Imperium would win, Peter?
No, not really. I mean, I might be the only hardcore Dune fan who hasn't played it yet. So, but I hear it's really good. I know. I gotta play it. I really want.
I know what I'm gonna be snatching you up for at Gen Con.
Woohoo. All right. Okay. Are we gonna have like a white elephant gift exchange after Gen Con?
Well, are we?
We should.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
We organize a white elephant gift exchange. That'd be fun.
Marcus, go ahead and just get the ball rolling on that, and need support.
Yeah.
Marcus, make it happen.
Marcus,
yeah, you don't have enough to do, right, Marcus? You're like
Marcus doesn't. No, Marcus needs more work.
That's all we need. More Gen Con prep. Woohoo!
What do you think about these picks, Nora?
I'm very excited to pretend like I knew what Living Forest was before it gets cool. I'm gonna be a hipster about it. Like, oh, you don't know about Living Forest?
Well,
Wait, do you actually know, or are you just really?
I'll never tell.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. I think with that, we should definitely move on to some news that Noir can definitely tell us a lot about.
I do not know what you're talking about. No, I'm kidding. There is a lot going on with D&D right now, especially the movie. The trailer just dropped yesterday. It's very exciting. They're just everybody's talking about it on Twitter. It's a good time. The first official trailer for it dropped at San Diego Comic-Con, and the movie apparently follows an adventuring band of heroes traveling through some of the most iconic locations in the Forgotten Realms, dealing with many of the monsters that we're all familiar with in this hobby. According to the cast and the directors at the panel for this movie, their plan is to have lots of sequels for this and to try and kick off Dungeons and Dragons cinematic universe. I am wary about that. I hate when movies come out. They're like, we're gonna do a cinematic universe. It seems dark universe. But anyway, I hope really good things come of this movie. I just wish Jeremy Irons was here. That's all I wanted. And they didn't give it to me. So yeah.
Oh, I think it's gonna be great.
If I can give a pass for like a cinematic universe to like one IP, I mean, definitely D&D. Absolutely.
Yeah. Forgotten Realms. The trailer is so good. I don't know. I got a feeling this movie is going to be fantastic.
Oh no!
Fantastic.
I got an inkling of what, with my conspiracy hat on, what the cinematic universe is going to be. So I know Noir, we behind the scenes complained that how dare they just focus on the bard. Maybe each of the expanding movies is going to focus on each of the very separate party players, so they play out their various story arcs. So maybe we'll get like a barbarian story, a paladin story. We get a wizard story, or wait, is it a wizard or sorceress? Is the other characters?
I
both.
think
Multi-class
could be
multi-class, maybe multi-class, but we're going to get origin stories for each of them, and then whatever orphan NPC they pick up that happens to be the big baddie in the end.
I'm just going to say this. I would much rather this movie have Fast and Furious success than Marvel Cinematic Universe success. I think we should stick with one party through an excessive amount of movies rather than everybody trying to get their own one-shot movie.
But that ruins my idea. I was gonna say that maybe we could merge Chaldea and Forgotten Realms and finally get like a big scale production movie going with Actoroki.
I think that sounds great. Yeah, Jamie, all right there. Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, let's all have a moment of perspective, though. Like, the first D&D movie was so horrible. Like, it's just, the bar is not very high here. I mean, they just got to have fun.
Yeah.
And, the trailer is great. You've got a girl turning into an owlbear. You've got a guy being sucked by a mimic into a gelatinous cube.
It's supposed to be a tiefling, by the way. It's tiefling.
It's a girl, though. Female.
Yeah. I was like, because I'm sorry, just bringing up the internet drama.
Did I make a pronoun error? Sorry.
No, it's not pronoun error. I was just hinting to some of the drama that, of course, drops down every time something nerdy comes around.
Oh, they're don't listen to the haters, man. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fun. We're all just gonna have a blast.
You know who else is really successful at making lots of successful IPs? Sony. Just so happens to be pretty successful. And I think Bonsai has some news to share.
Yes, I do. So Sony is going to be working with Spin Master for basically allowing them to take a lot of not just their IPs of various different games that the PlayStation or Sony PlayStation owns, but they also get the rights to like the imaging and looks of like what was the PS3, 4, 5. So this is from Chris Hoffer at Comic Book. Spin Masters, the company behind Paw Patrol, Bakugan, and Rubik Cube, announces their partnership with Sony Interactive Entertainment to act as their global toy master license. So they're going to work exclusively with them, making as part of making like action figures, play sets, plush, role-playing games, vehicles, RCs, games. It's just anything your nerdy mind can think of all the loot that you can have. The press release specifically calls out that they're going to be doing stuff with God of War, Last of Us, Uncharted, and Horizon Zero Dawn, which is one of the. I'm very surprised they get a lot of those big name items. I am ready for a Kratos plushie. I mean, there are some, but like, or some kind of like really cool stretchable bendy man Kratos strongman plushie. I don't know. That's all I can think about. But if you've been desperate for any kind of Sony products that are made outside of Sony, but you can still get a slew of stuff, maybe even mugs. This is a new exciting thing. With this wish, I wanted to hear what everyone, starting with Noir, what is your wish list of a toy that you can get that is a Sony licensed IP?
I want a Kratos plushie that when you hug it, it goes, boy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Javion, what do you have any ideas?
Well, I'm a huge Last of Us fan. So I would love like a replica, like maybe even like a mini version of Joel's guitar. And I can just like, because I've been trying to learn guitar, so maybe just like, I don't know, something to remember him by.
Aww. That is cute. Those are both. You guys got good choices. There you go. Marketing department. We got 2 people got ideas. And Peter, what about you?
I didn't play with toys when I was a kid. I don't know.
Now's the perfect time.
Yeah, now's the perfect time. This is the year.
Well, I guess I'm wondering what the Rubik's Cube adaptation to a board game would be. I don't know. I mean, since we all know that you take off the stickers and just reapply them, and that's how you solve the Rubik's Cube. Like maybe they just made them a little easier to peel off. I don't know.
Okay, not to be a know-it-all, but there is a Rubik's Cube board game. It's a slide puzzle competition. Whoever finishes the slide puzzle first, they slam down the little window and they're like, Rubik's Cube or something. I don't know what they yell, but I have actually a copy of it and it's super fun and you'd love it. Anyway, that was our second to last headline. Our final headline for today is a not really of an announcement. Most of you already knew probably about this book, but Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel, the first all POC produced WotC title, is released. That's right. It is a new supplementary book with tons of adventures about all the journeys through the Radiant Citadel. It was described as D&D's answer to Star Trek, in that it's going to branch out and really tap into a lot of the potential for lots of Spelljammer type travel in sort of sci-fi culture, but also it's going to have a lot of rewriting or sort of rewiring of D&D lore, because you're probably familiar with some of the old tropes of how creatures interact with one another and how all the different like sort of fantasy lore is very well established as creatures who are born a certain way are a certain way. Well, this is going to expand a lot of that content to have a little bit more variety. Also being written by an all POC cast. I mean, all produced by an all POC cast is really exciting. We're going to have a lot more a diversity in storytelling, as well as like the adventures themselves are going to have so much of a different perspective on them. I'm really excited to play with some of these adventures. It's going to be a lot like the Candlekeep Mysteries, if any of you are familiar with any of that, where they're all sort of self-contained little adventures that you're able to plop into your games whenever you want to or wherever you want to. The levels are pretty established. They give you recommendations on what level your party should be if you're running it. So it gives you a little bit of guidance there, but it leaves it on a cliffhanger that you'll be able to run the adventure into a whole campaign. Or if you just want to run them all as one-shots, you can find a way to string them together. But I learned my lesson from trying to do that with Candlekeep Mysteries, because those adventures are not connected. However, the community on Reddit was super helpful, and they found very interesting ways of making it into one huge level 1 to level 14 expansive campaign that you can run just out of the book itself. So that's going to be really exciting. It's going to be introducing lots of new creatures and allies, NPCs, magic items and things like that. Very, very interesting stuff. I'm most excited for this picture that showed up on this article. It's just like a sneak peek preview of one of these pages. I'm still waiting for my copy to show up. It's the Flames Everlasting Sky Bridge, which if you are a Dragon Ball Z fan, I know a bunch of you are, you know that this looks exactly like the, I can't remember the exact name, but I think it's like Dragon's Pass or Dragon Pass. I can't remember exactly what it's called.
Oh,
Snake Way. I was thinking Dragon. Snake Way. It looks exactly like it. It's this huge, long path. It looks like it goes on forever. It looks exactly like it. What are you guys excited for with this book?
I just want to see all the artwork. I am most excited about the artwork that's going to be in the book. I've been seeing a lot of like acquaintances and friends like just being like, look, I got my copy. I'm like, how did you already get your copy, Ray? Son of a, you know, and I want to look at all the art. I'm a sucker for all those various different art, especially because there's going to be a whole mix of people and we're going to actually see different flavors and shades and everything.
I think I think that the types of adventures will be different and interesting in interesting ways. I feel like this book is going to be really fresh, you know, like it'll be reading about, I think that collectively this group of designers are going to tackle Dungeons and Dragons in a new way and bring a spice to it. That's not a Dune callback.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry. Nora, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that what I'm most excited for is how this is gonna kind of change the status quo of the astral plane. Yeah. They're adding a lot to the lore of it, and the astral plane has always been this undefined thing that we're now defining and putting a city in. I think that's gonna change a lot of stories in a very interesting way.
If I could put something like on my wish list, like if I had one wish, I would love for some like college course on Forgotten Realms lore. Like I'm talking Spelljammer, but I'm also talking about like all the old stuff because I would just love to be informed about these things that you all seem to just know like by heart. Like I didn't even know what a Modron was. So like I would love to like be able to like be informed about this kind of stuff. So I think playing through some of the Spelljammer stuff, playing through journeys through the Radiant Citadel, learning about new civilizations and stuff like that. That's going to be a really good way to learn a bunch more about this new established lore that they're bringing out. Well, that's going to do it for our headlines today, everybody. Those are all of the really important headlines anyway. We got some more for you next week, but first, we've got the Bundle Boss. It's Bundle Bonsai. What's our bundle for this week?
Hey, it's your boy Bonsai here, and I'm going to tell you a quick thing of what we got for Bundle Holding Eclipse Phase 2nd edition going on. If you are a big fan of transhumanism, dispersed through the whole solar system, battling a long war between basically AIs that are way smarter than us and kick our butts. So we're very scared of them. And you know, you're one of those people that are like, oh, my character died. It's okay because we can just re-sleeve ourselves. Eclipse Phase is that kind of game for you. It's just basically struggle to survive. Let's not care about the body. All you lose is a little bit of memory. And what also is really cool is that with it being bundled holding, it also benefits another charity. This being Direct Relief, still supporting COVID relief funds. Like basically, hey, did you guys know there's still a pandemic? And a lot of other things throughout the world. And what Direct Relief does is give all of the various different hospital supplies and things that they need in order to function and help and save people around the world. So yes, go ahead and check out the Eclipse Phase 2nd edition.
That looks really good. I just got to say, transhuman fiction, singularity events happens to be like one of my favorite parts of fiction. I think I've read at least a dozen books with that sort of style, you know, theme. So I don't know, this looks really good.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun. I've played Eclipse Phase before, and I really recommend it, especially because there's been like a battle, like even one of the most notable battles that I had in my campaign is that we all rushed in to steal some information, and there was no way our physical bodies were going to get out, so we just hijacked and plugged ourselves in to send our mind and fry our bodies back at home with our data stack. So it's all good.
Wow.
Wow.
Cool.
Well, Peter, I want to keep this ball rolling. I like this passion. I like this drive. I want to hear more in our crowdfunder court. I'm going to send you in first. That's right. Tell us a Kickstarter.
Boom, boom, boom. Thank you, Your Honor. Yes. I've got a Kickstarter today I'm really excited about because, excuse me. See, I'm getting all choked up. Old school D&D back in the original Deities and Demigods book had a section about the Cthulhian mythos in it. All the Cthulhian, Hastur and Cthulhu and all this stuff like that. And so I think somebody my age must have gotten involved in this project. It's called Steinhardt's Guide to the Eldritch Hunt. It's a 5th edition D&D supplement, and it is all about Lovecraftian themes, nightmarish monsters, madness, all that stuff like that. It's got a madness system with 100 insanity flaws and boons. It's got a unique lunar phase mechanic with world-altering moons. That sounds epic. Adventures, twisted race options, nightmarish subclasses, macabre monsters, and also advice on how to craft bloody gothic adventure. So it's a 300 plus page grimoire. It's on Kickstarter. It's going for like another 26 days, so it'll be around a little while. You can go to Gen Con and come back, and if you have any money left, jump on this Kickstarter. So I don't know, looks kind of cool.
Definitely could always use some more 5e content. I think the court is pleased. Thank you so much, Peter.
Yes.
But I also have a Kickstarter that I would like to present. It's the Moonrakers Titan expansion. Yeah. We're going to explore the Moonrakers universe once again with 3 new expansions, brand new expansions, a digital co-op game mode, a big box, and you guys know how much I love organizers, and exclusive holographic cards. So this Kickstarter is very, very exciting. And I'm sure a lot of you have already heard about this. Their goal was only 100K, but they've already hit $1 million.
Oh,
$1.3 million, and it still has 22 days left on its Kickstarter. That's right. For just $35, you can get 1 expansion, but of course you're going to want the Platinum Edition. The base game of Moonrakers for $65 is going to include a lot of the Platinum Edition contains like much thicker chips, because you guys know how much I love a thick chip. Plus, you also get much nicer art for all the box art, as well as the cards and the components. Are really, really nice. You can also get all 3 expansions, all 3 of the new expansions for $99 or more. And of course, you get the Titan box for $114 or more. This is great for backers who already own the base game. It includes the Kickstarter exclusive gold foil Titan big box with Binding Ties, Overload, and Nomad expansions that are being released with this Kickstarter campaign. All the expansions are pre-packaged in the Titan box, and separate expansion boxes are not included in this pledge. So there's just a ton of stuff. If you haven't gotten the base game, like I hadn't just yet, this is a great time to back it, because you get so much content available for purchase. Moonrakers, for those of you who don't already know, is a negotiation-focused card game in which you're trying to negotiate with other players about who can join you on these missions to steal a bunch of high-tech sci-fi stuff with your crew in hand. You're trying to accomplish these missions, but you really do need other players' help in order to get all the right cards to be able to play in order to accomplish the sort of missions, moving around the board, trying to collect the resources that you need in order to earn enough victory points and, of course, win the game. It's got a lot of really cool interactivity that players love. The aesthetic is very dark but neon, sort of minimalist at the same time, sci-fi. It's a really, really cool project. It's still got 22 days to go, so you got plenty of time to hop on if you haven't already. Yeah, so that is going to do it for our crowdfunder court. And I believe we now have a very exciting interview with the author of Slaying the Dragon, A Secret History of Dungeons and Dragons. Lots and lots of secrets and surprises in store when Ben Riggs joins us for his interview, and coming up in just a minute, in just a moment here. So we've got
Yes.
some.
Ooh, I wonder what
yeah.
all the let's theorize. What do you think we could be like? What's the deepest, darkest secret that you didn't actually put in the book yet, but we need to know? Don't worry about Peter. He won't say
Peter.
anything, right? Right, Peter?
I didn't tell him anything. I had to hold back a couple of things for the sequel, right?
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you gotta think about the sequel and everything.
The biggest problem was I couldn't remember so much what happened in the 90s.
Could you
Okay.
act? Could
All right, here we go. We've got Ben. Almost. 1 second.
Check
Hello.
1 2 1 2. Hi. Hi, everybody.
Welcome
Howdy.
to TableTakes, Ben.
Hello.
Ben Riggs.
So glad that you could join us today. Thank you so much for coming in for this interview. We're so glad to have you.
It's my
first-
pleasure.
Our first question, of course, as always, is who are you and what are you here to talk about today?
Yeah, what? Who is this guy? What's he doing here?
So, my name is Ben Riggs. I'm a geek journalist, podcaster, teacher in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I am here because my book on D&D history came out this week, Slaying the Dragon, A Secret History of Dungeons and Dragons, which really covers the period between 1985 through 1997, kind of the silver age of Dungeons and Dragons, and details the decisions and mistakes that allowed Peter to buy it.
Now, by the way, I just really put two. You're from Milwaukee. You're not still bitter that we moved Gen Con to Indianapolis, are you?
No, I mean, 'cause Indianapolis does such a better job than us. Again, at best, the local paper would run an article every year about Gen Con that was somewhere between abysmal and insulting about it. The city really was like, oh yeah, the week when the weirdos are here, they wouldn't even allow Gen Con promotions at city events. And you compare that to what Indianapolis does, and it's worth the 5-hour drive. I mean, again, it's fair to say we lost it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Okay, let's get back to topic. Thank you, Ben.
I'm just gonna add y'all skipped right over Chicago, but whatever.
Hey,
Yeah, well, if there were some hotels by the convention center in Chicago, maybe it'd be a different thing. But you put the convention center way out in boonies, and there's no restaurants, there's nothing there, right?
So about this
Okay,
really cool book, Ben, what kind of surprises are people going to find coming from this book?
Wow. I had a previous person who interviewed me say that they read 7 other books about the history of Dungeons and Dragons, and yet mine was full of new information. I had access to documents that no journalist had seen before. I got interviews with people that no journalist had talked to. Some specifics. I tell you the story of how TSR, the company that made Dungeons and Dragons at the time, tried to start a comic book company in the 1990s and failed. I tell you, I interviewed the first person to negotiate with the CEO of TSR in the 90s for purchasing it, Bob Abramowitz. Again, people sent me sales numbers that no one had ever seen before. Again, outside of the company, obviously. I'm sure I know Peter saw these in like 96, 97, but they're news to the rest of us. Right now I'm sending those out on Twitter and Facebook. Like every day I'm putting out one other D&D sales number from the 80s and 90s. Right now I'm doing monster manuals. What else is new? It's so weird with Peter here because I'm like, well, it's not necessarily new to him, but to the rest of us, it's probably new. I will say that the only person I feel like I didn't get to talk to that I wanted to was Lorraine Williams, the CEO of TSR, at the end. And she's a very complicated personality because on the one hand, she kind of seized Dungeons and Dragons and TSR from Gary Gygax, the original founder and creator of Dungeons and Dragons. But she probably saved the company when she did that by taking it away from him. And also she gave the company another 12 years of life, let it go along long enough that Peter was able to come in and buy it and kind of give it a better home.
Wow.
With all this like detail, I had to ask, would you say this is more like, what is the audience, do you think, is like more enthusiasts, or for like new people coming into D&D wanting to know a little bit more about like, what is this as a company? What would you like see?
Readers are describing it as a dishy page turning tell-all. I have had people with no D&D experience write reviews and say that it's still a fascinating read, because it's essentially a book about a car wreck. And everybody likes to rubberneck at a car wreck. And I tell you about this financial tragedy. Again, I've had people that are only interested in business read it and come to my seminars and say that just from a business point of view, it's interesting. So, and I definitely give you enough background that if you started playing D&D a month ago, or even if you don't play D&D, you should be able to pick it up and enjoy it.
I'm very curious about with going into the history of D&D. Is there a inside look into how the Satanic Panic played into the game that we all know and love today?
Yes. On the one hand, it's interesting. So, the Satanic Panic really got going in 79, 80, 81. And those were years of growth for D&D, exponential growth, as a matter of fact. So if you talked to people at the time, they would tell you, oh, the Satanic Panic was great. All these priests and reverends are telling kids to get rid of their books and burning their books and stuff, and the kids just go back and buy them again. And as a matter of fact, that other kids will get into it because they think that it's cool now, because their adults are saying it's not good. However, if you take a longer view, J.C. Penney's, which was in every mall in America in the 1980s, they dropped TSR and Dungeons and Dragons products after just a handful of complaints. Sears, again, in every mall in America, dropped Dungeons and Dragons products after just a handful of complaints. Bob Abramowitz was a sales guy at TSR in the early 1980s, and he says that he negotiated a deal that would have put D&D in Walmarts. But Sam Walton himself called him up to say he was really sorry, but he could not put D&D products in Walmart because of the complaints and concerns around Satanism, suicide, the Satanic Panic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So while, again, in the short term, you kind of get these really flip answers from a lot of people that were there, over the long term, it denied D&D places it can be sold. And considering that, like, in 84, 85, 86, you're going to have a crash in D&D sales, it certainly couldn't have hurt if D&D was available in more places. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you, Ben. So this is this book. Is this your first foray into publishing, or do you have some other publications that you?
So I self-published a book that I call Encounter Theory about adventure design a few years ago. It's available on DriveThruRPG. Other than that, I've been writing fantasy novels that have failed for 17 years. So this is the first book to really see the light of day. And anyone who ever says something like, "Oh yeah, every failure is the seed of success," I'm definitely feeling that way right now.
I have a question for you. You and I have talked, so I've been like sitting here, trying to figure out something to ask you that I don't know, actually, right? So, and I haven't read the first 3/4 of the book. I jumped to the last part, and actually I haven't finished that yet, but I'm almost done. I'm kind of curious if you got a chance to talk to some of the other creditors associated with the bankruptcy. I'm thinking specifically of Random House. Anybody who was at Random House that might have had any insight into that contractual relationship, or anybody at JB Kinahan, any of those.
So Random House wouldn't talk to me because I was small potatoes. Maybe they would talk to me now. Kinahan wouldn't talk to me either. And again, I was able to do some local stalking there because again, I'm in Wisconsin, that the printer is in Wisconsin. And I guess I should say to the audience, so at the end, TSR owed Random House, I believe, $11 million and had stopped paying their printer. And as a consequence, the printer
Kinahan.
Kinahan, thank you. Made TSR give them their offices, so the printer became their landlord, and made them sign an exclusivity agreement saying that TSR really couldn't leave them and print somewhere else. And they still didn't pay their printer back. So in the winter of 1997, their printer stopped printing their products, and Random House had just returned a bunch of products, so they were kind of screwed in both directions. But Random House, I was too small fry. No one would talk to me, and I did some local stalking of Kenahan here, but he didn't want to talk to me, and that was that.
Yeah, I think Kinahan actually had all the proofs for the core books, if I remember.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So they were contractually couldn't go print Player's Handbook somewhere else, and physically couldn't go print it because the printer had the proofs or the press sheets. Excuse me.
Well, Ben, what? Sorry, I was so sorry.
No, go ahead.
So what is your experience with D&D? Like, how much have you played, or are you playing in any campaigns right now?
So I'm a dyed-in-the-wool tabletop role player. D&D has always been a little bit more of a local cultural artifact for me, because my D&D prime time was 7th and 8th grade, and I had no friends, so that made playing AD&D really, really difficult. So instead, what I would do is I would take my Player's Handbook and my Dungeon Master's Guide and a few other, like the Complete Book of Elves and the Complete Fighter, and I would again and again and again create a single character, an elven blade singer that double wielded long swords. I'd try making the character at 1st level, at 5th level, at 10th level, again, I can't tell you how much time I spent doing that and how much I enjoyed it. But it's odd for me. It was really an intellectual pursuit. And I'd go read D&D novels. I'd read D&D settings. I loved Ravenloft. That was kind of my main area of enjoyment. Night of the Black Rose by Jim Lauder was a pivotal novel for me growing up. But then when I got to high school, I pretty quickly fell into Vampire the Masquerade and Call of Cthulhu, and they absorbed the next decade of my life. But then when 3rd edition came out, that was actually the time I got to play the most D&D, because we were so impressed by, my friends and I were so impressed by 3rd edition. We actually left those games and came back to D&D, and we started a chronicle where every week it was a different DM. We kind of crowdsourced the world, which we called Cooltopia. That was the continent we were playing on. And we did that for about a year. And again, that was tremendously enjoyable. But while I've always kept up with D&D, because it's definitely the big dragon in the room, it was never really my main jam.
With hearing about that, do you think that maybe in the future for your next project, you'll be diving into those games that you really like, Call of Cthulhu, and like, is there plans to dive in more to the industry, like behind the scenes of XYZ?
So I'll tell you this because I wasn't told not to say it. The week before my book, the week before my book came out, my editor from St. Martin's Press called me up, and he was like, "So we want another book. We want another book about the role-playing game industry, about another kind of big name game." And those were his only instructions. So on the one hand, like, I'll tell you, I've already written 20,000 words. This book ends in 1997. I've already got probably 20,000 words written on 3rd edition, the OGL, some of the like TSR people transitioning to Wizards. Because my initial plan was to end with 3rd edition and be like, look, Wizards fixed all these problems, and Peter was such a genius, and this is also amazing, and look how great 3rd edition is. And then I started doing research and talking to people, and the 3rd edition story is much more complex than that, which is not to say it's not still a work of genius, but it was. I thought everyone on the team was going to be like, we're geniuses, this is great, go home, 1,000 words, but it was much more complicated. Peter got some sass.
Nice.
Oh, sass.
Yeah, not everybody wanted to go exactly the same way I did.
It's hard.
Oh,
it's hard when you're. Sorry, I'll stop.
Oh no, you're good. I'm sorry.
Well, and when you're the boss and they're trying to drive the truck in a different direction, I'd imagine that causes some complications. And you're the guy that saved their jobs when they were about to be unemployed in southern Wisconsin in 1997, and they're kicking back against you. But now I'm monologuing at you, which might be weird.
Look, that's what the interview's for.
Well, that kind of plays into the cluster that I wanted to ask. After having gone through the history of it, it sounds like there are quite a few times where we almost didn't get Dungeons and Dragons. Like, how precarious was it getting from creation to where it is now?
Here's a thing that publicly wasn't known until my book was published. I'd be curious to know if Peter knew this. So in the spring of 1996, Random House sued TSR for lack of payments on their debt again. And in order to keep Random House at bay, TSR secured a loan from, I believe, State Street Bank. And to finance the loan, they had to put a bunch of intellectual property up as collateral. That intellectual property included things like the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Forgotten Realms campaign setting, the Dragonlance campaign setting. And that was the spring, summer of 1996, and TSR's position only got worse as the months went on. In the spring of 1997, as Peter told me, when he was negotiating to buy the company, Peter faced pressure from the Wizards of the Coast board asking, why are we buying this company that's $30 million in debt? Why not just let it go into bankruptcy? And again, correct me if I'm wrong here, Peter, but you argued, no, we don't want to lose momentum. We don't want people to drift away. If the company goes bankrupt, yes, it might be cheaper, but we'll lose all this momentum. We want to buy it now. Again, I don't know if you knew the thing about the collateral or not, Peter, but I often think the way I tell the story is if Peter had not convinced the board to buy TSR at that moment, and if it had gone into bankruptcy and you'd had intellectual property like the Player's Handbook and the Dungeon Master's Guide go up for auction and had different people buy it, suddenly the question of who owns Dungeons and Dragons is going to be settled by a judge. It could have killed the game, destroyed the brand, annihilated the hobby. Who even knows? Those copyright collateral filings were found by historian Michael Kalia, and he was kind enough to point them out to me. So again, credit where credit is due, because as far as I know, no one outside of TSR knew about that until Michael Kalia found them. And again, I don't know, Peter, did you know before the sale about that?
I didn't know about the collateral. I knew we paid off State Street Bank. I knew about that debt, but I didn't know about the collateral. And I think everything you just said all rings true as far as I can tell. I think I'm a little bit. I always get a little bit embarrassed when people say, "Oh, Peter, you saved D&D." Like I've never felt that was necessarily true in the sense that it's a powerful intellectual property. I think that the power of the property itself would have somehow caused it to coalesce. Maybe I'd like to think that it was the best scenario, maybe that, WotC ended up with it. But I think that, it's hard to tell what would happen in bankruptcy court. You'd get a bunch of different, State Street might have had that collateral, but you've got a lot of debt sitting out there to Random House, especially, but also to Kinahan. I think a judge would have force some sort of triad out of those three companies, some sort of something so that the State Street, which was a much smaller lender, wouldn't end up with the crown jewels with Kinahan and Random House just getting screwed. So
then I'm going to say one sentence then and say, so that decision is why I would say Peter saved D&D, because he prevented that entire scenario from happening simply by encouraging Wizards to buy it then and there. So even though it's almost charming because at the time you didn't know you were doing it, and I'm probably embarrassing you in front of everyone, but I'm just going to keep doing it. So that's why I would argue that decision is why you did save D&D. I'm done. I won't say anything else.
Oh my gosh. I have so many more questions about the secret past of D&D, but we're just going to have to read the book to find out more. Ben, thank you so much for joining us today. I learned so much, and I can't wait to read this book. For those of you in chat, if you just want to click on that link there, you can find a link to Amazon where you can buy this book 33% off. It's a great read. It's really exciting. thanks again, Ben. Just hang on real tight while we do our outro. Thank you to our audience for viewing today. Thank you for joining us for another episode of TableTakes. But don't go anywhere because we have a very exciting episode of TableTakes Game Night coming up. We're playing Someone Has Died, where we're going to find out who died and who is going to get their inheritance. Then right after that, at 5 p.m., we're going to have Sarah's Table, where GM Sarah Moore is going to be playing Necrobiotic with Bonsai, Brandy Rose, and Michael
Yay.
Savin. That's so exciting. Nerd Botchery Adventures is going to continue on Sunday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. PST. And for those of you who don't already know our streaming schedule, on Mondays, we have board games with the brothers Murph. Tuesdays, we've got Out of Character with Mark Tassin. Wednesdays is Actoroki Series 3. And on Thursdays, we have Blood on the Clock Tower at 10 a.m. with Roll with Rem Alternus coming at 4 p.m. on Thursdays. And of course, every Friday, we've got TableTakes Game Night, Sarah's Table, all your favorites all week long. Thank you so much to our viewers once again for joining us today. Thank you to our lovely co-hosts. Thank you to Marcus in the background, keeping us on time and keeping the production positive. And just remember, for all of you watching, if you miss any of our programming, if you tuned in late today, you can still check out the videos on demand, the recordings here on Twitch or on YouTube 24 hours later. And please follow us here on Gen Con TV for more of the best 4 days in gaming all year long. And we also have a Discord. Gen Con's coming soon. Join us there, and you can always get alerts for when we're going live. All right. That's it. We're gonna take a break, and we're gonna be right back for Someone Has Died. We'll see you then. Bye, everybody.
Bye.